Alright, what's up guys? In this video we're going to pick up some calculus here. This is going to be another integration practice video, and this is going to be example number 49 of the integration practice series. Alright, here, so we're asked to evaluate the integral x squared times e to the negative 6x dx. So we have a product of two different functions here. So we're going to have to apply integration by parts. And if you notice, we're going to have to apply integration by parts twice. We can easily tell that because if you notice here, we have x squared times e to the negative 6x dx. So once I apply integration by parts the first time, it's just going to drop the power of the x down to 1, and we're going to have to do it again. So remember that the integration by parts formula is the integral of u dv is equal to uv minus the integral of v du. And we need a u and a dv. So neither of these is harder to differentiate or integrate than the other, but in this particular case, I'm going to pick u to be x squared, and dv will be everything else. So dv is e to the negative 6x dx. So we need du, which is 2x dx. And we need v, and remember how we get v, we integrate dv, so that's the antiderivative of e to the negative 6x dx, which we know is negative 1 over 6 e to the negative 6x. You don't need to add a plus c there, we'll add a plus c at the end. So now we use our integration by parts formula and see what we get. So it's going to be u times v minus v du, or u times v minus the integral of v du, excuse me. So I'm going to bring my negative 1 over 6 over here. So we'll have negative 1 over 6 e to the negative 6x multiplied by x squared, because we'll have u times v. Recall that multiplication is commutative, so it does not make a difference whether you write the x squared first, whether you write the v first, it doesn't matter. Multiplication is commutative. The order doesn't matter. And then we'll need v du, which means we'll essentially have negative 1 over 6 e to the negative 6x multiplied by our du, which would be 2x dx. So the negative 1 over 6 and the 2 is a constant. So I can go ahead and multiply those out and simplify. So I'll have 2 times negative 1 over 6, which is negative 2 over 6, which we know can reduce down to negative 1/3, but the formula says that we already have a minus in there, so we could factor out the 1/3 and of course change it to a positive, because two negatives make a positive. And so then we'll have the antiderivative of x multiplied by e to the negative 6x dx. And as you can see here, as I said at the beginning, we're going to have to apply integration by parts again. So this is something as a calc student that you're going to have to be comfortable with. Some integrals require integration by parts to be used multiple times. I always say that the best way to get practice with this is to do multiple examples. And I've posted some examples for you to look at. Also, be confident in your selections. Just because you have to apply integration by parts multiple times doesn't mean that you necessarily pick the wrong u or dv. I'll see that with students sometimes. They'll get into a situation where they've got to do by parts again, and they'll say, oh my god, this integral is just as difficult as what we started with. And then what students will do is they'll go back and flip it, only to realize that they didn't help themselves, and in fact they might have made the problem worse by switching it. So just get comfortable with having to apply the method twice. Be confident in your selections. Don't go back and switch. Just be confident with it. This is going to happen from time to time. So we need a u and a dv again. And again, we're not going to deviate really from the selections that we had up at the top. So we're just going to let u equal x and dv is everything else. So dv be e to the negative 6x dx. So let's go ahead and do it. So we get dx. We know to get v, we'll integrate dv. So that's the antiderivative of e to the negative 6x dx, and we already know what that is. That's negative 1 over 6 e to the negative 6x. Okay. Also, in cases where you have to apply integration by parts multiple times, and really you should be doing this for any math problem. You want to be as neat as possible, but especially in cases like this, because you're going to have to go back and get the information from the first by parts. And so if you've got stuff all over the paper, you're probably going to have a hard time keeping up with where you left off. So make sure you're writing it nice and neat so that you can pick up where you left off with the first by parts. So let's go ahead and apply it. So again, we'll have negative 1 over 6 e to the negative 6x. This is just going to be x here. Now we know that it's going to be v du, which means that we'll have a negative 1 over 6 in there, e to the negative 6 dx. Well, negative 1 over 6 is a constant, and there's already going to be a minus sign on the outside according to the formula, which means we can pull out a 1 over 6, and of course it's going to be positive. And then we're going to integrate e to the negative 6x dx. And we already know what that is, which is, negative 1 over 6 e to the negative 6x. So now we'll take the 1 over 6 and multiply it by that. So we'll multiply it by negative 1 over 6 e to the negative 6x. And this will give us negative 1 over 36 e to the negative 6x. So now we need to go back to our first by parts and attach everything. So we'll have negative 1 over 6 e to the negative 6x multiplied by x squared. And then what we have is plus 1/3 negative 1 over 6 e to the negative 6x multiplied by x minus 1 over 36 e to the negative 6x plus c. I actually have to close that up. Now don't leave your answer that way. Clean it up, simplify it a little bit. That way your professor can't come up with any excuses to take points from you. And always tell students to do that. Don't give your professor the chance to take anything away from you. So try to simplify as much as possible and go back and check your arithmetic. If you're struggling with the integration part, that's something that can be worked on, but missing points because of, you're not simplifying as much as you should or not checking your answers is something that, only you can control. And again, passing a math quiz or test can come down to literally a point or two. So you want to make sure you're doing that. Don't allow your professor to take points away from you. And of course, ask for help if you really are struggling with stuff. I don't mind helping at all. So our final answer here, after we go ahead and simplify everything, is just going to be negative 1 over 6 e to the negative 6x multiplied by x squared minus, well, we'll need to distribute the 1/3, so we'll get 1 over 18, but there's a minus there, so it'll be negative 1 over 18 actually. And then this will be e to the negative 6x multiplied by x. And then we'll need to distribute here as well. So we'll have 1/3 times negative 1 over 36. 3 times 36 is 108. So this will end up being minus 1 over 108 e to the negative 6x. And then tackle on a plus c. And that would be your answer. And that's how you solve it. Okay. So I hope that this was helpful. And if you guys got any questions about how I got my solution, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to share it with you. All right. Y'all take care. I'll see y'all next time.